Hey everyone. I had a question earlier from a dear client of mine. Her name is Patty, and it is about how often to feed your mojo. So I did a video a couple weeks ago or something, showing the same mojo bag that I have had for about 30 years. And, this one's getting pretty fragile because the material is just naturally starting to disintegrate. So I have to be a little careful with this one. But I think one of the main things I want to go over with is that what my brand is known for, Conjured Cardea, is my conjure oils. I think I have well over 100 different types listed on my site, and I can also do any custom oil that you want. So I think I have about 400 or 500 recipes available to me, so that I can create for people. So when I am feeding my mojo with oil, I do not drop the oil directly onto the bag. It can cause the bag to get really greasy and collect dirt and grime over time. So I like to put some in my hands first and charge it this way by rubbing them together. And you'll start to kind of feel when it's ready, when you've been rubbing your hands together to raise some energy, and then you start to pull them apart, you'll feel like a little kinds of threads of resistance. And that's when I know that I'm ready to hold on to my mojo and feed it that way and charge it that day. That way. I typically do 3 breaths to cleanse it and activate it when you first get it. This is important. And then I will typically hold it and charge it and pray with it to my forehead. And that is pretty close to what I do on a weekly basis for it. Now, I don't always use oil because, like I said, that can accumulate grime over time. What I do use a lot is iron filings. These are large lodestones that I offer also on my site, and you can take some of the iron filings. I also sell the filings separate. You do not need to buy the lodestone if you do not want to. I pull some off. I sprinkle some inside the bag to feed it. This is a really great way to charge it, to give it that, magnetizing. Mojos are typically used to draw things to us. So they're not really something we use to repel or reverse, because you're carrying it around with you most likely, or keeping it on your altar. So it's really meant to, as an honor, it's meant to honor and as an offering and as something we use to draw certain energies to us. So, I wouldn't make one for, repelling or reversing energy or works. That just doesn't make sense to me. The other thing that you can do to refresh and recharge it is simply replace one of the ingredients every so often. Great way to do that is by adding a cowrie shell, a new root. We just got in a new batch of solid roots here. They're Lucky Hand roots. I don't know if it's going to focus on it. Probably not. From Greece. I have a supplier in Greece. That is another thing with shopping at Conjured Cardea. All of my curios are sourced right from the source. I spend a lot of time working with suppliers around the world to deliver you. It paused. I don't know where that cut off. Anyway, talking about sourcing ingredients from suppliers around the world so that you are getting the roots right from their source. This is something I spend a lot of time doing. So we have brand new batches of solid roots in right now. They are super gorgeous. If you don't have one, Lucky Hand roots are used in Doctrine of Signatures, since it's shaped like a hand. Anything that you would use a hand for in magic. So you typically, things like gambling, things like employment, steady work, anything that you would use, that you would use your hands for is what we would add a lucky hand root to our working for. That's what that would represent, if that makes sense to you. I didn't explain that very eloquently. I'm sorry. So anything, yeah, anything that your hand would do, gambling, steady work, employment, especially those areas are really, really great for this root. You can add something like that. You can add alligator teeth. These are great for protection and prosperity. I also have these available on the site. The other method that you can do to sort of cleanse and dress it and bless it is incense smoke. I would not recommend sage, maybe Palo Santo, but I would typically use a resin blend that aligns and corresponds with what the Mojo bag is for. Sage, I feel like, is really acrid and caustic, and I feel like it kind of strips Mojo bags of like all the energy that you've accumulated in it over the year or over the many years that you've had it by working with it. So I don't recommend white sage for really anything to do with Mojo bags, unless like, I guess maybe like if somebody, I was gonna say if somebody gave you one and it was like skeeving you out and you wanted to like get rid of the energy attached to it, maybe you would do sage. But honestly, if somebody gives you a Mojo bag and it's skeeving you out, you need to just throw that thing away, period. So the other way we can do this with oils is for poppets or wax dollies like this. Again, available on the site. So anything that I'm showing you guys, I have available for you. You can also do the same thing with the breath technique and the prayer technique and the offering technique. And then people ask me a lot about prayers, like, oh, like what prayer should I say when I'm charging my Mojo or blessing it? I really don't ever recommend pre-written prayers or spells because you know what you need from that bag. You know what you're trying to say. You know what your goals are. If you don't, then that's something you really need to sit down with a pen and paper and figure out. Reading somebody else's words is literally just that. You're just reading somebody else's words. It's far better if you sit down and put some thought into the actual sentences you want to state and goals and prayers that you want to actually say. And if you can't say them out loud, that's totally fine. I'm not some of you don't have space, like private space to do work. I totally get that. I'm not saying it has to be stated out loud. What I'm saying is you should use your own words to do it. So yeah, take an object out, maybe if it depends how much you work with it. If you're like really working with this thing every day, maybe you want to replace a new object in it once a month, but I would definitely say feed it once a week. Keep the oil exposure to a minimum. Another thing you can do, put the oil on your hands like I did, and then dress the root or the curio that you're putting inside the bag. So it's not just constantly putting that oil on the outside material, so the material's not constantly soaking up that oil. A lot of people go way overboard on the like dumping the oil like on the Mojo bag and inside the Mojo bag. And I'm telling you, you're going to end up with, it's going to be so gross, you guys. There's nobody who's actually using a Mojo bag is doing it that way. Like nobody who's using it like regularly is doing it that way because it's literally going to get so scummy. And I'm sure, I know I already have like herb residue and resin residue from incenses and oil residue and stuff all over, smoke residue, soot residue all over my workspace because of the nature of my job. So I don't need no more of that. So anyway, I hope that that helps you a little bit. Stop by the shop, shop.conjuredcardia.com. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or hit me up on the chat option on my site. And I hope y'all have a beautiful and blessed week.